Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
All right, so we're
And
joined
also,
all the way from across the Atlantic, all the way from the UK, Milton Keynes, there in Buckinghamshire County, just northwest of the beautiful city of London, by Radhika Srinivasan, the founder of Ecotextura, a great engineering manufacturing company there in the UK, and Player 352 from Squid Game Challenge
yeah.
on Netflix. One of the coolest shows I've ever watched. And obviously, we will talk about that. But we thank you so much for joining us. This is for all of our computer science engineering students in Madison County schools. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for all of our friends. Rosa Scott, Madison Middle School, Madison Central, Germantown High School, Germantown Middle School, Old Town Middle, Ridgeland High School, my friend Angela Jordan over at Shirley Simmons Middle, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So we thank you again for taking some time for joining us all the way from the United Kingdom today.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. And thank you so much for getting it organized and for doing all your research. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited to be here today and to chat to everyone.
Now, before we get into what all it is you do with Echoes Textura, because it really is cool and the timing of it couldn't have been better. You went to university at London School of Economics, got a degree in economics, went to UCL, which is a fantastic university there in London as well, got a master's in mechanical engineering, and you've got experience in finance, you've got experience in auto sales when you did an internship in Dubai with Ferrari. You've just done so much stuff. So talk about your university experience and how that led you to get into engineering.
Yeah, sure. Well, actually, when I was back in school, so going back to my high school, I absolutely loved being creative and was really good at art. But I also really liked the maths and the science and the physics side of things. And I just thought engineering would be the perfect combination of the two of them. And I think being surrounded by a lot of entrepreneurs, my dad, he has his own business. And I think also just growing up in India for a few years, my background is Indian. And my parents are immigrants in this country. We moved here when I was about three, four and a half.
Ooh.
And being from that background, I mean, entrepreneurialism is just such a massive thing. Like every inch of the market that we go to, there is always someone selling something or someone innovating and selling something. So I think all of these factors combined, I thought that going into a degree where you combine that creativity, you combine that technical side, and also you can combine that entrepreneurialism and finance and business and startup, this was perfect. So I was lucky enough to actually have a dual degree from two universities at the same time. So I was running
Wow.
between the two universities, which was incredible. Luckily, they were side by side in London. So I was doing the mechanical engineering at UCL, and then I would run to do my accounting lectures and my finance lectures in LSE the same afternoon, and then back to the labs again in
Wow.
mechanical engineering as we colors and designed all sorts of things. So yeah, it was busy, but especially when you if you do want to go to university or college, finding that course that kind of combines all of your interests and passions, it can be quite difficult, but it's so rewarding, and you will actually have an amazing time at university if you find something like that.
Yeah, and we say the same thing in the United States. I know it's the same thing in the UK is, find these fields that need people. Engineering is not going anywhere. And
Yeah.
obviously with your company now, you're doing constant technological and environmental and data advances. So having that type of background in education is extremely important. Now, also,
Yeah.
we've worked on the railways, you've worked in construction. So talk about the different areas of engineering you've worked in before you started your own company.
Sure. So, during my university years, and actually before when I was at school, during the summer, I would always set aside 2 weeks every single summer to try and find some work experience or try and find someone in the industry that I could shadow, even if it was for a couple of days. So this led me to when I was having a family holiday in Dubai. We went and worked in the Ferrari showroom. So they had a service center
That is
at the
awesome.
back. So they had which was it was so fun. Honestly, I felt like a kid in a candy shop. Like I love cars, I love fast cars, I love anything automotive. And my boyfriend and I, we love watching the F1. So yeah, always had a big passion. But that was really fun. That really fueled it because they had all the cars in the showroom at the front, and then at the back, that's where all the modifications happen, the car repairs and everything else as well. So it was really nice to see like the entire system and the mechanics of it. And then, yes, on that same trip, I was also working with Komatsu, who are earth moving vehicles. So, you know, the big like diggers and all these excavation machinery and vehicles. We were working with those, and that was crazy because I was in Dubai in the thick of summer. It was so hot outside. But yeah, so I was chatting to the engineers and the mechanics out there who were modifying some of the vehicles as per the customer's requirements. So yeah, there's all sorts of amazing fields. I think the final one you mentioned was the railway. So we have a big company here called Network Rail, and they take care of all the public railway maintenance and supply in the UK. And actually, I feel like it almost runs in my family. My mom works there, my brother's working there, all in
Oh,
different
cool.
roles. So I work there, which is fun. And there I was responsible for sourcing certain parts. And that's where I actually looked at all these engineering designs and diagrams and got acquainted with what parts are, what materials they need to be made from, how much things can tend to cost for a project as well. So all these like little experiences put together really helped me and helped my brain kind of work in a way that identifies opportunities, immediately sees how we can make products a reality, and also cost them and turn it into a business. And that's kind of what I've done. So from all my experiences, I've put it together and made my own company, which uses all those skills.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw a problem because I saw you mention on one of your interviews that you were a patient at a hospital and saw just so
Yeah.
much waste on PPE products when it came to not only for the gloves, the masks, the robes, the aprons, the wipes, everything was being thrown away. So much waste of material. And on top of that, horrible for the environment. So that's where you got your idea for Eco Textura, where you now make recyclable products for the healthcare industry.
Yeah, that's so true. And I have a few of them here actually. So I have my compostable surgical mask. I hope you guys can see this okay. And this is not made from any plastic at all. So all the fibers in this are made from cornstarch based fibers as well as our proprietary bio binders. So these go through a chemical and mechanical process to stick them together. There's three layers, and actually it acts in the same way as a surgical mask does. So it filters away all of the bacteria. And if you drop water on it, you also see that it is completely splash resistant against fluids. So
Wow.
we've basically made like a plastic-free surgical mask. And this, if it goes through the compostable industrial composting facility, can biodegrade within 6 to 7 months, like pretty easily.
Wow.
Again, you can use that soil to regrow the same fibers that make the mask. So we're
Wow.
trying to find circular, yeah, that are, you know, not dependent on virgin plastics that we already know create a ton of pollution and are non-renewable once we finished using them and just get sent for incineration. Another one which is a bit more like socially geared, I guess, is this transparent mask that we made for the pandemic, because we knew that people that are deaf and hard of hearing, they really need to see expression, and also kids and patients with dementia, we realized, really thrive off of
Wow.
seeing expression when we. Yeah, so um this came about when COVID started, and immediately I'd already read the papers. I already knew that we need to wear masks to stop infections, especially if it comes from,
Yeah.
you know, the nose and the mouth. So immediately I went to the fabric store. I got a ton of fabrics and started sewing masks just to hand out for free. And when I was dropping them off to certain people that had reached out needing masks, a lot of them were deaf and hard of hearing, and they were saying it's just so difficult to understand what people are saying when you can't lip read. So that's when this came about, and we actually made this product with some of the suppliers that I'd reached out to, got it tested and got it out selling to the
Wow.
hospitals here in the UK in 9 months. So that was honestly, I think that was one of my proudest moments in an engineer's dream, to have one of your inventions like actually being used by people. So yeah,
Yeah,
so
and you
those
guys
are
are developing wipes. You guys are developing wipes, gloves, aprons, the hair nets, anything that
yeah.
somebody would use in a hospital, you guys are developing.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and the good thing is the material that I made back when I was at university, um, that's the material that we're using here with a few modifications. And this material can go into all of those different items.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty amazing. If you are really interested in materials science, materials engineering, the possibilities are genuinely endless, and it's such a great field to go into.
Yeah, and it sounds like just from the materials you need people with an agriculture background, you need people with a manufacturing background, you need people with a robotic background to operate these machines because you're mass producing them. So
Yeah.
just as somebody that hires people in an engineering field, are you necessarily looking for people that have a 4-year university degree, or are you more worried about people with certifications that can learn your process and get the job done?
Oh, that's such a good question. And I prefer a mixture of both. So in the
Okay.
past, I have hired people fresh out of university who are ready to learn because I think, especially in this field, sometimes it can be, and in the time that we are in right now, sometimes it can be very hard for graduates or people out of high school to get jobs, especially in these technical fields. So I personally I like to give people that opportunity, and I do look for people that are really willing and able to learn and have showed that they are able to learn quite quickly and have that attitude to learn in the past. So I do really like just yeah, avid learners with a great attitude. And also on the other end, I do like to have a few more specialists on my team, and I am hiring for a few more specialists at the moment, especially with product development. But of course, you need to work your way up to that stage, and you need to collect all the experience from different places to get to that stage. But I personally think the best engineering teams are a great mix of the two. And I
Absolutely.
think engineering is one of those, yeah, for sure. And engineering and technology is one of those um, degrees and one of those industries that it might seem really, really difficult to get into from the outside. It might seem like, oh my God, I need to know all this kind of maths and materials and physics and chemistry and technical work. But no, there is definitely a space in it for you. Whether you want to go into it with a background in, you know, knowing exactly how to make the materials or more scientific or mathematical background, or if you, as you said, want to work a bit more on the distribution side, the getting to know the marketing and the communication side. There is so many different ways to get into the engineering and tech industry.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because I know I can speak for every teacher that's going to see this later because we talked about this last week when we had our own professional
Yeah.
development. Is that a problem that we see with students is that they don't get it right the first time and they quit. This is too hard. So, how much trial and error goes into manufacturing, especially when you're dealing with these high tech materials that literally is something that saves the environment and saves people's lives? Because I doubt y'all got it right the first time.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Of course, it's so much trial and error, and I'm sure you guys carry on using the example of Edison with the light bulb. You know, he tried thousands of times, and same with us. I Behind me somewhere on the other side of this room is a cupboard of prototypes that I have just completely been abandoned. We have
Wow.
so many. Ask has gone through about 9, 10 iterations before we got to this one, before we got to the
Wow.
perfect one. But we never gave up. I mean, imagine if we quit the seventh iteration or the eighth iteration, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are today. So I think sometimes there is a gut feeling inside you that says this is a product that is needed, and I am the person that's going to make it, and I'm going to make it happen. And for some reason, I always trust my gut on that, and it's always ended up being the right call. So even if
Wow.
sometimes you fail, you think of, or with some of the topics that you thought you were interested in, but you're just not getting, keep trying. It really is a case of keep trying and keep up hope. But yeah,
Yeah. Now, before we talk about Squid Game, there's one last thing I want to talk about as far as the tech world is that we had Jessie Augusti last semester, who's in London, who has a podcast there in the UK that talks about diversifying tech and about multiple entries into tech and engineering, and something she suggested because she went to another university in London and got a degree in psychology, and she said I really didn't have a lot of use for that. But what a lot of what you can do is get certifications while you're in university, come out with a degree and a tech certification, and companies like yourself be like, hey, this person could sell and they have a tech background. So is that a good path that you would see for people that are like, yeah, I want to work in tech, but I don't necessarily want a tech degree?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Any way in which you can utilize your spare time. Obviously, make sure you relax and have a good balanced life. But utilize your spare time to get another like tech qualification or something else as well that diversifies your skills and diversifies your offering. It can only help you more. I think it's really good. And I think also if you do have a passion in tech, but you don't want a degree in tech necessarily, make sure you see your passions through and really do find I know there's some online courses you can take. I know there's a lot of online research you can do independently. And also LinkedIn is so incredible. You can actually reach out to people in the industry and just start a conversation and record this conversation and actually bring it up in your interviews, or if you go down the tech route, you can always reach out to people. So there's definitely so many avenues you can take, and I definitely recommend diversifying your professional interests.
Yeah, especially, with someone like you that actually runs a company, you have to find you need people that can sell. You need people that can sell your product, but they need to know the product as well. They need to know how it's made. So when somebody wants to buy a big shipment of 10,000 boxes, they will have no problem telling them all the specifications that it took to make it. And I think that is a very good selling point, especially someone like you trying to diversify the industry.
Yeah, thanks.
Now,
Absolutely.
obviously, we got to talk about Squid Game, the challenge. Well, the biggest reality show in the history of reality shows. You were player 352, made it to the third game. So, a lot of us watch the show, and I'm not a big reality TV fan, but I loved it. I couldn't stop watching. One of the coolest game shows I've ever seen. So, and they actually filmed it in the UK. So, tell us about that experience because it seemed like a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness, it was incredible. And also they're casting for season two. So if you're a big fan, I definitely think you should apply. I think it'd be great. They love the Americans. They'll definitely fly you out. But it was an incredible experience. Actually, the whole casting process lasted about 6 months. There were so many checks. Had no idea I was even going to get onto the show until literally, I think, a month or. And yeah, it was filmed in the UK. It was super cold at the time. And the game of red light, green light, which was the first game we had, we weren't allowed to speak to anyone else before that. I could see people in the hotel room that we were staying in, but we couldn't speak to anyone. And when we got to red light, green light, it was absolutely freezing. There was 456 of us in this massive hall. The production of it was insane. I was just in awe. I'm a big Squid Game fan. I don't know if you are too,
Oh,
but
yes.
just the games that, yeah, the games and the concept and everything about it just seems so whimsical and weird and in this completely different universe. But the fact that we stayed in those big dorms with those big bunk beds with absolute strangers from across the world, all these personalities, I will never experience anything like that again in my life, and it makes me really sad, but I'm so happy that I was in that experience. And me too, like I don't watch too much reality TV. I prefer documentaries and movies, but I really enjoyed being in it and watching it. It was amazing.
Yeah, and you're the second player we've had. We had Brownie, also the earlier player 255, and she said all the same things. She said red light, green light took hours to film. It was freezing cold, and that also with Dalgana, that was real reactions y'all were seeing on the screen when people were trying to decide which shape, and it was extremely nerve wracking. And then they never turned the lights off. You had no electronics. There was a lot of card games being played, and then I thought it was cool. You talk about the different people you got to meet. T.J. Ford, who played years in the NBA here in the United States, was one of the contestants, and I was like, "How cool is that?"
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I will. I think being an adult, I don't think I've been able to make that many friends in that short space of time ever in my life. It was so incredible. Everyone had a reason and a purpose for being there. Everyone had their own story, and we spent days on days sometimes in those big dormitories where we slept, played games, all sorts happened. ate our horrible food with no taste. But it was just like a big pot of personalities, and the amount of deep conversations that came out of there, the amount of revelations that people had. I know some people that had gone in there and met these incredible people that had so many different backgrounds and so many different jobs. And they said, when I get out of here, I'm actually going to quit my job and I'm going to do something I feel a lot more passionate about. I know
Wow.
so many people that life-changing moment in there because all we could do in there was just be human. We were stripped of everything else. We were all wearing the same thing. We didn't have anything that was different. We were all eating the same food. We were all sleeping at the same time and had access to the same resources. We had no phones, no contact with the outside world. All we had to do in there was be human. And it was one of those
Wow.
incredible like experiments. But I loved it. It really proved to me that I'm a person. I don't necessarily need luxury. I just need other people. I just need human connection, and I'm happy. So
Yeah,
it was an amazing experience.
yeah, and without giving away the plot for people that haven't seen it, I did think it was hilarious. On the game you were eliminated in, everybody thought it was going to be something else. So it's all about adjust. I thought that was a great life lesson because you can think you know what's
Yeah.
coming. Saw everybody warming up and stretching all macho for tug of war, and tug of war never happened.
Oh my gosh, we were absolutely gutted. So I was on team number one, and we were actually the strong team. So alongside me having my own medical company and mentoring, I actually teach aerial arts and pole fitness. I'm an
Oh wow!
instructor, and I was president of Pole Fitness and Aerial Arts Society back at university. And that requires a lot of grip and calisthenics. I don't know if, like, maybe some of your students go to the gym and do calisthenics and all these cool tricks and gymnastics. But basically, it is a lot of that. And when we were back in the dorms, I was doing a whole calisthenics, like, little workout with some of the guys in there. And I think that's when they also realized, like, oh, damn, like she's strong. She has some good grip. So we were all part of like the fitness team. We all used to do a lot of stretches and exercises in the morning, and I think that entire group just gravitated towards each other for this challenge that we thought was going to be tug of war. But I think in that game, you slowly start to realize it's after red light, green light. It's not really a game of agility or skill. It's actually a game of luck. Everything is a game of luck. So yeah, it was a big life lesson, I think, as well. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah, and like if you haven't watched Squid Game Challenge on Netflix, I encourage everybody to watch it. It was a great watch. I can't wait for season two. But I do have some questions from the students. This first one is Tykevian Boyd. He's in 10th grade, and he asked, "What was your biggest inspiration to get into engineering?"
Oh, well, thank you so much for your question. And my biggest inspiration was um, me wanting to just create things and me seeing creations all around me. I was really influenced by a lot of art, a lot of robotics that I saw, a lot of cars that I used to see as well, a lot of buildings, and basically just the environment around me. And whenever I looked at something, I didn't just like look at it for what it is, but I was actually inspired by the fact that so many hands, so many minds have touched it. Like I'm looking at my lamp right now. I know it required a lot of innovation. I know it required a lot of teams to even put together. And to me, that is just so incredible. And I really want to be part of something like that and be a part of something that can make significant change. So yeah, I think just knowing how much work it takes and how much thinking it takes to create each individual products that we have around us, that was a huge inspiration for me to just want to get involved with something.
Absolutely. And then I think that's a perfect example of if you're a person that's curious and likes to solve problems, engineering needs you now more than ever. Especially these young ladies, especially these minorities. And I know you're passionate about that as well. This is Michael Sherrill. He's in 10th grade, and he asked, "What is the most fulfilling part of your job?"
Okay, well, hi, Michael. Thanks for that question. And for me, the most fulfilling part of my job is seeing a product go from design, like literally designed on my little notebook as a scribble, to actual product that's being sold on my website or direct to hospitals or being listed as stock somewhere. that whole process is one of the most fulfilling experiences ever as an engineer. Just the fact that you can actually get like a concept and an idea to a tangible product, it's amazing. No feeling like it. So I love doing that.
Awesome. Now this is Rondell Ellis. He's in ninth grade, and he asked, "You are already well known as a manufacturer that won awards in the UK. So, what inspired you to be cast on a reality show?"
Oh, that's a great question. Um, I think for me, I thrive in variety. And I think it's so important in life to be doing side missions, and they're so fulfilling that way. So, I mean, yeah, I'm doing all this like technical stuff during my job, um, from my, during my 9 to 5. But on the side, I love traveling. I love watching Netflix. I love making TikToks, so many TikToks. Actually, before I came on this call, I was making a chrome breastplate. This went viral on TikTok. I'm a big Beyonce fan and I wore it to her concert last year. It went viral on TikTok and now people are ordering them from me. So I've literally just been making a breastplate. Good thing I'm a materials engineer, so I can make some cool stuff like that. But that's the side missions that I love doing. So when I was approached through my TikTok actually to apply for Squid Game, I thought, oh my goodness, yeah, let me go for it. Let me see how this goes. And sometimes you just have to just keep saying yes to things. But yeah, side missions are great. Just try not to get too overwhelmed. I sometimes get overwhelmed. But good planning and side missions, oh, best thing in the world.
I love it. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining us. But a couple things before we go. First of all, tell everybody your TikTok because you are a great social media follow.
Oh, I mean, I still think it's very small compared to other people's, but I love making videos. My TikTok is at Radhika the Don. I know, random TikTok name, but guys, feel free to follow. And also, before I go, if you want to learn anything else about me or learn more, please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn and happy to send over my link for that if you want to speak to me about engineering or even opportunities for study or work or anything in the UK, I will definitely see if I can help.
Yeah. Now, and that's what I wanted to end with is that, you're very proud of your Indian heritage, which is about the same percentage in the UK as it is in the US. But with it being Women's
Yeah.
History Month here in the US and in the UK, Canada, all over the world, you're very passionate about diversifying this field, whether it be for minorities, whether it be for immigrants, whether it be for women. So obviously that's been other obstacles you've had to overcome. So why does engineering not only need these young people, but really need these young ladies and some of these immigrants and minorities to get involved in this into this field?
Oh my goodness. So there are so many products and inventions and um, items that have only been made with the male perspective or with certain perspectives. And they don't cater for so many other things. There could be a design for certain products and projects that just do not cater for a lot of minorities. And that's why we need
Absolutely.
a lot of different a lot of different inputs. We need a lot of different minds working on every single project, I personally think. And it's only ever
Yeah,
resulted in better conversation, better innovation, better ingenuity, better results when you've had a diversified team. So, for example, the best example I think is my transparent masks, which we use for the deaf and hard of hearing, to help them communicate, especially during COVID. Without their team, without me having to consult with deaf and hard of hearing groups, without me literally putting on my social media, like, guys, what are the difficulties and what kind of things do you need from a product like this, and actually working with people. Did I realize that we need to make certain amendments or certain tweaks? So it's always good to consider the voices and the opinions of all sorts of people. So everyone has a place at the table in this industry, and everyone deserves the right to pull up their own chair and sit down.
absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So again, we thank you so much for taking some time for us all the way from Milton Keynes, UK, across the Atlantic there in Buckinghamshire, England. Thank you so much for joining us. Radhika Srinivasan, the founder of Echo Textura, player 352 on Squid Game Challenge. Go watch it on Netflix. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. My absolute pleasure. All the best to stay in touch.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, buddy.